Today's paper from Tao School, and without further ado, let's begin with the usual, which is grammar MCQ. Question 1. Benjamin was so fond blank his teacher that he made a beautiful card for her on Teacher's Day. So making a beautiful card suggests that Benjamin likes this teacher, yes? And fond goes with of. It's a phrasal verb. You just need to know it, right? If you're fond of something, means you like it. Are you fond of cucumbers? Are you fond of people who smoke, for example? In other words, do you like? Question 2. The manager told the guests all the luggage in the bedrooms. So we're talking about all the luggage here. Now, all is usually plural, but with luggage, it is uncountable. So we are going to take a singular verb. And singular verbs, that means 2 is out and 4 is out. Okay. An hour ago, which means we are using the past tense, which means the answer is number 3, was. Question 3. Adeline was by the pond when she saw her uncle blank into the water to save her drowning brother. Now, saw her uncle blank. So I call this the verb object verb kind of question, where the second verb, it has to be the root or the ing form. So in this case, we have the root. We do not have the ing form. And by root, I mean no s, no ing, no ed. So in this case, saw her brother jump. Alternatively, it could be saw her uncle jumping into the water. So the answer is therefore number 1. Mr. Tan reported the massive plumes of smoke, like for example, a volcanic eruption. So we are using the past tense here, that massive plumes of smoke could be seen rising from the burning building early this morning, right? So could in the past tense, and there you go. My cousin prefers, so we are going to use the ing form, prefers as in the gerund, right? We're going to use the ing form of the action. So my cousin prefers watching cartoons to taking a nap in the afternoon. So question 6, Tom decided not to go for the camp, blank he had signed up for it. Oh, so he signed up for it, but he decided not to go. So decided not to go although he had signed up for it. You can never get to school on time. Now, think this as negative. Think of this as you can never, as in you cannot ever get to school on time. Can you? So on the right side, we will have the positive form, can, number 2. Here we are wishing we could turn back time, wishing that the bad thing had not happened. So if the prefect had been more alert, so was the prefect alert? Nope. Okay, just wishing to turn back time. If the prefect had been more alert, he would have seen the students fighting in the field. In reality, he wasn't alert and he did not see the students fighting in the field. My stomach, singular, has been growling since I woke up this morning. As Lily knew that her sons were not hungry, now we're using the past tense here, are we not? She did not cook. So as Lily knew her sons were not hungry, she did not cook dinner. And now on to vocabulary. The blank toddler refused to change his clothes even after numerous reminders. So that's pretty stubborn, right? So refusing to do something that he had been told several times. Question 12. Due to the unfavorable weather forecast. Now, what does unfavorable mean? It means not good for you. Like, let's say if the weather forecast is rainy and stormy weather. Well, is it good or bad? Depends, right? If you want to sleep at home, that's good. But if you're going to have a sports day, that's bad. So unfavorable just means not good for you. All right. Tomorrow's sports day has to be postponed, has to be delayed to a later date. It is a good habit to complete and submit your homework punctually on time, and not blanket to a later date, and not put it off to a later date. To put something off is to postpone, to delay. Question 14. That was a record blank for the opening ceremony. No one expected such a large crowd. So look at this, okay, for example, right? Look at this fantastic attendance. Not really, okay? So that was a fantastic turnout. That was a record turnout. Turnout basically refers to the people showing up, or rather the number of people showing up. Losing the race to a younger athlete was a blank for Ravi. It was unpleasant, but he had to accept the result. So it was difficult for him to accept. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Not exactly talking about any pills here, just that this reality was difficult for him to accept, losing to a younger athlete. Huang Fu was a very rich farmer who was always unkind to his servant. So rich but unkind, Ah Hop. So this rich farmer had a servant called Ah Hop who was ill-treated by Huang Fu. Every day, Ah Hop worked like a horse. Well, basically worked very hard, right, on the farm, but was paid very little. So here we have one example of the mistreatment. Next. One day, Huang Fu instructed Ah Hop, buy me a bottle of wine. Puzzled, confused, Ah Hop asked, Master, how can I buy you wine if I have no money? Huang Fu replied disdainfully, sort of like disrespectfully, right? Anyone can buy wine with money. It takes real skill to buy wine without money. Okay, that's not helpful, is it? So Ah Hop is not gonna, this is not helpful to Ah Hop, right? Time passed and Ah Hop eventually returned. He handed the bottle to Huang Fu and murmured, enjoy the wine, please. Staring at the bottle in dismay, Huang Fu complained. So Huang Fu was actually not happy to see this. Like, how did you actually manage to get the wine? There is no wine. How can I enjoy this? Oh, okay, so this dismay here is from looking at an empty bottle. Ah Hop said with a straight face, so without any expression, anyone can enjoy wine if there is some. It takes real skill to enjoy wine when there isn't any. So what a brave thing for a servant to do, right? To be letting his master taste his own medicine. Huang Fu made a choking sound and was unable to say a word, to utter a word. After that incident, he never summoned Ah Hop to do ridiculous things for him ever again. So, worked like a horse, I would say, worked very laboriously. So, labor refers to hard physical work, and in this case, laboriously describes how he worked like a horse. Puzzle is to be confused, but confused is not here. The answer is dumbfounded, shocked, surprised. Now, Huang Fu said disdainfully, you should be, it takes real skill to buy wine without money, okay, with contempt, with disrespect. So contempt is a kind of disrespectful attitude that you have for somebody. Okay, next. With a straight face, so the answer here is number 2. Okay, in a way that's very serious and unexpressive. Next one, unable to utter a word, right? That's basically speechless. Next up, we have visual text. Well, we have the title here, Westview Garden Festival. So there are going to be lots of celebrations and activities here near the end of the year, and waterside gardens from morning to night. Oh, okay, 12 hours. Next, admission price, open to adults as well as young children. Enter a magical world of delightful garden designs and exquisite, okay, very well-made floral creations as Singapore goes into full bloom this November at the Westview Garden Festival 2019. Okay, so festival favorites. So what are some of the highlights of this festival? Fantastic designer gardens. Well, designer just tells you they are going to look very pretty. Be enthralled, be be enchanted, okay? Be spellbound by the beauty and the magic of the magnificent landscape. So is it just random flowers everywhere? No, they actually made some effort to arrange the flowers, to choose which flowers go where. All right, fantasy gardens created by renowned, very famous local and international gardening celebrities. What? These are people known all around the world and are famous people for what? For gardening. Cool. Get ideas and inspiration for creating a modern garden. So look at all these gardens created by famous gardeners, garden designers, and maybe create one for yourself. Bonsai garden, okay, bonsai is a Japanese art form of pruning plants to look like the shape of full-grown trees. View how these miniature trees are grown and potted. Find out how long it takes to grow a bonsai from a seed. Next, orchid spectacular at Emerald Dome. So emerald is a green color, and it makes sense. We're talking about greenery in gardens here. Embark, okay, begin on an unforgettable journey into the diverse, having lots of different kinds of displays and colorful display of Asia's most exquisite orchids. So orchids here, diverse tells you there are going to be many different kinds. Some orchid species on display are, okay, I'm not going to repeat this, pronounce these words. Next, the everyday gardeners. Okay, wondering how to start a herb and vegetable garden. Hey, this is basically edible plants, aren't they? Herbs, right? Vegetables. Get gardening tips from your friendly neighborhood gardeners. Learn how to select the best gardening tools, the right plants, the suitable soil. So yeah, look at beautiful designer gardens, look at bonsai trees and how they grow them, and learn more about how to grow them, orchids, and then vegetables and herbs. The marketplace, okay, another part of this festival is buying and selling things. Let's take a look. This non-ticketed area is open to the public. Oh, so previously there was this the fee to pay, right, to enter all the favorites here. But this marketplace is open to all. No admission fee needed. Gardening shops. Shop for all items related to gardening at this one-stop marketplace for over 20 gardening booths. So everything to do with gardening. Tools, seeds, fertilizer, soil, pots. Okay. Stage performances. Wow, be entertained at this marketplace. Band and choir performances put on by primary and secondary school students throughout the day. What? Even at 9 p.m. at night? Interesting. Food and beverage stalls. Okay, don't be thirsty and hungry while shopping. Hey, have some food and drinks. Watch chefs prepare mouth-watering, delicious local delights like chicken rice and curry puffs. Flower mascots. So people are going to dress up like plants, I guess, or flowers. Spot the friendly flower mascots. Not just one, more than one, and take pictures with them from basically the entire afternoon. Next, we want to hear from you. For example, what do you think about this garden festival? So they're suggesting the feedback that you could offer them. Would you be interested to visit it again? What other exhibits would you like to see in future garden festivals? Write in to us at this email address, and your letter might, not will, might be published in our annual newsletter. Okay. Next, here's some feedback from a visitor, Mr. Alvin Tan, published in our annual newsletter about the 2018 Garden Festival. So this was not the first one. Okay, there was actually one the year before. I attended this garden festival last year and I was very impressed. I did not mind paying a entrance fee of $25 to visit the beautiful garden displays. So he did not mind paying this because of the garden displays. So this is the ticketed area, right? I took many lovely photographs there. My favorite area was definitely the marketplace, which had free access for members of the public. I really enjoyed myself watching the stage performances, shopping for gardening tools, and relaxing at the food and beverage stalls. The festival is organized by Waterside Gardens. This is key to take note, and is supported by NPB. Sponsors are basically these two companies, and the official advertising partner is Plains Media. And now the first question. The main aim of the advertisement is to promote the garden festival. Well, that actually makes sense. Let's take a look at the other answers. Encourage visitors to take up gardening. Is this entire festival about gardening? Much more than that. We've got, yes, designer gardens, bonsai gardens. That's nothing to do with encouraging you to take up gardening, right? And then you admire orchids, different kinds of orchids. Yes, start a vegetable and herb garden, yes, but this festival is much more than that. What about the marketplace, right? So yeah, you can get gardening supplies there, but there are also performances and F&B stalls and everything, right? So it's much more than just to take up gardening. So let's take that off. Welcome visitors to Singapore for the new year. Welcome Singapore. Like, is this a tourism thing? No, it's not. Okay, let's get that out. Support gardeners whose floral creations are in full bloom. I wouldn't say that. Okay, so the answer makes sense to be number 1. This event will be held at, well, easy. Let's look at the venue, Waterside Gardens. So the answer is clearly number 3. To find out more about growing vegetables, okay, so remember the part growing vegetables? It's here, isn't it? Want to start a herb and vegetable garden? So I should visit the everyday gardeners, number 3. The colon in the orchid spectacular section, okay, where is that? The colon here, that's the colon that they're talking about, is used to, right after the colon, what do you see? Examples of the orchid species, right? So the answer is number 2. Provide examples of orchid species that will be on display. According to the advertisement, visitors will be able to do many things at the event, except will they be able to buy food? Absolutely. The F&B stalls. Perform on stage? No, the performance will be by bands and choirs from the primary and secondary schools. Look at beautiful floral displays? Yes. Take photographs with the mascots? Yes. So what is obviously not going to happen is the visitors themselves performing. So the answer for number 2, the answer is number 2. The purpose of the questions we want to hear from you, okay, the purpose of the points here, look at these 3 points here. These are example questions, right? What do you think about this garden festival? Now, what's the purpose of writing this? Isn't this to suggest what kind of feedback you can offer, right? We want to hear from you. For example, what do you think about the garden festival and all that, right? This is offering suggestions on what kind of feedback you can give in your email. So to give readers some ideas of what they can write about when they offer feedback. Next, visitors to the marketplace will be able to do what? Experience preparing local favorites. Preparing? No, the chefs are the one preparing. So yeah, these are prepared by the chefs. Take home free local foods. I'm pretty sure you have to pay for them. Otherwise, why call them stalls, right? And marketplace. Next, take photographs with the flower mascots at any time. No, there are actually time slots, okay? At any time. So enjoy concerts staged by primary and secondary school students. Yeah, that is absolutely true. So the answer is number 4. Why was Mr. Alvin Tan willing to pay $25? Oh, this is from the 2018 feedback, right? Mr. Alvin Tan right here. So why was he willing to pay? Well, it comes from the part, I did not mind paying. And if you look, it's all about visiting the garden festival. And he found it very beautiful and enjoyable. So the answer there is number 1. And now, grammar close. An online post about Madam Rani Vilu's act of kindness has gone viral since Mr. Jack Lee wrote to the SGH to commend her. Well, what does commend mean? To praise her, to say good things about her for her civic-mindedness. So Madam Rani did something that was kind for a stranger. Let's see. Mr. Lee was deeply grateful. Now, what's the preposition to use here? Was deeply grateful to Madam Lu for assisting his elderly father blank getting down from an overhead bridge. Oh, okay. Getting her elderly father, assisting the elderly father in getting down from an overhead bridge along Flora Avenue. Oh, we're talking about a date here. So what preposition do we use? On this date, 6 July 2019. In his letter, Madam Lee said that his father had been stranded on blank overhead bridge for 3 hours. On the overhead bridge for 3 hours due to the loss of strength in his legs. Blank, there were many passers-by who tried to render help. They did not know how to move him. So they tried to, but they did not know how to move him. So while there were many passengers who tried to help, they did not know how to move him. That was blank Madam Vilu came to his aid. That was until Madam Vilu came to his aid. So did Madam Vilu know how to move him? Yes, she did. Mr. Lee added that blank her nursing experience and knowledge. Looks like with, right? So the answer is, with her nursing experience and knowledge, Madam Vilu was able to promptly assess the situation. So she could very quickly decide what needed to be done. She immediately directed others to help move his father to ground level. Blank Mr. Lee's siblings could then transport him home. Okay, where? Mr. Lee's siblings could then transport him home. Madam Vilu went beyond the call of her duty. Full stop. Okay, blank her assistance and guidance. Oh, so looks like without her assistance and guidance, I think my father would not have been able to get off the bridge. What Madam Vilu has done is highly praiseworthy, commendable, and much appreciated, said Mr. Lee. So, act of kindness, using your expertise for strangers. Next, spelling editing. One of the most famous stories of intelligent animals was about Coco, a female gorilla born at the San Francisco Zoo in America. Let's read exactly how Coco was intelligent. Coco was taught sign language. Oh my goodness, that is clever, right? And learned approximately, now this is a spelling mistake here, approximately is spelled like so, about 1,000 signs and 2,000 English words. Her motherly affection was bold enough to make headlines when she, through sign language, asked for a kitten one day. So, my goodness, okay. So, basically, Coco was able to communicate with humans about what she wanted. As such, she was giving a life-like stuffed toy. No, she was given a life-like stuffed toy. Was she given an actual baby or kitten? No, not really. But she was least than satisfied. No, she was less than satisfied. So she was clever enough to know that no, that's not the real thing. She did not play with it, but continued to sign the word sad. Therefore, thus, she was able to choose a kitten from a litter of abandoned, spelling mistake there, kittens on her birthday the following year. The zookeepers named this kitten Cookie. Coco cared for this kitten as if it were her own. So was this kitten actually hers? Not really. Okay, they are of different species, for goodness sake, right? But as if it were her own baby. Under Coco's tender, loving care, Cookie, well, we're going to use the past tense, grew into a strong and healthy cat. Spelling mistake there. Unfortunately, one day, Cookie escaped from Coco's cage. Oh no, that's disastrous, and was run over by a speeding car. Coco grieved, basically felt very sad for the death of somebody that she loved, signing the words bad, sad, bad, and frown, cry, frown, sad, over her loss. She also made a sound similar to a human weeping for many days. Subsequently, that means following that, Coco's maternal instinct, so basically her sense of being a mother, was displayed whenever she had other young animals to look after. Coco lived past. Now, not past as in, hand me the remote control, pass me the remote control. No. Past as in to go over the average life expectancy of a gorilla. She died at the age of 46 years. So, extremely intelligent, but also caring. Next up, Cloze Passage. On sunny weekend mornings, Gabriel, his sister Emma, and their parents, so 4 people in this family altogether, on sunny weekend mornings, they would always go for a walk at the park near their home in Bishan. That particular Sunday morning was no blank. Well, looks like they would continue that particular Sunday morning doing what they usually did. So, was no different. In other words, what were they going to do that day? Yes, go for a walk at the park near their home in Bishan, of course. The Tan family, now we know Gabriel Tan, Emma Tan, and the Tan parents. Eager for some fresh vegetables? Chicken curry? No. Okay. What do you get when you go to the park, right? For some fresh air. Set out soon after breakfast. Gabriel and Emma were chatting animatedly. Now, that's basically another way of saying chatting excitedly. Full stop. Next one, blank of the blue. That's easy. Out of the blue. That means suddenly, unexpectedly, Emma stopped in her shoes. No, stopped in her tracks. So what's that that caused her to stop walking? Gesturing. Now, what does gesturing mean? Gesturing basically means signaling with your body, right? So gesturing excitedly into the distance, she asked, "Daddy, what are those things near the pond?" At once, the rest of the family looked in a direction Emma was blanking in, right? So was pointing in. So that's her gesturing. And now we know exactly what she was pointing at. A family of otters was playing near the pond. They must be the famous Bishan otters. Recall, they live in Bishan. Mr. Tan said, whipping out his phone to snap some blank of the uninvited guests. All right, so photographs. Could you write pictures? Yeah, but actually photographs is slightly better. Gabriel turned to his mother and asked, "Can we blank them our biscuits?" Now, when you're giving them biscuits, what are you doing? You're feeding them, right? So the better answer here is, can we feed them our biscuits? This is the better answer. Give is okay, not the best, right? Because give can be used for other situations. Give me a present, right? Give him some homework. But here it's very specific. Food for the otters. So feed is a much better answer. They look hungry. Mrs. Tan replied, "No, we mustn't. Blank we do. They will forget how to look for food themselves." Okay, so if we do, they will soon forget how to look for food themselves. Otters eat mainly fish that they catch in the areas they live in. Maybe we can take one blank with us. Well, sounds like home, right? Maybe you can take one home with us. How do you know? Because this part here, pet. Emma suggested as she made a beeline blank the water. Now, you should know the phrase, make a beeline for something. Now, what does that mean, to make a beeline for something? Basically means to go directly. Nothing to do with speed, by the way. It just means she was directly walking towards the water. It'll be our pet. We can blank fish from the market to feed it, sorry. So we can buy fish from the market to feed it. Now, I know purchase has the same meaning as buy, but actually this is a bit too formal. Purchase is a very formal word. Emma here is talking to her parents. So yeah, buy is better, purchase is not. Now, what about the word get? We can get fish. Is this a good answer? Not really, because get has too many other meanings, right? Get sick, okay? Get destroyed by the earthquake. So it's not really a good word. Buy is much better, right? Fish from the market. It's blank the law to keep otters as pets. Okay, so it's against the law to keep otters as pets. Besides, it's not right to take it blank from its family, to take it away from its family, her mother said. The children exchanged sad looks. All of a sudden, they heard a splashing sound. They looked up only to realize that the otters had, swam? No, the word had here forces you to use the past participle of swim, which is what? Swam. That the otters had swum away. Swam would be incorrect. That is the past tense. The past participle of swim is with the U here, swam. How they hope to see the otters again soon. Ahmad enjoys playing computer games. Okay, Ahmad finds what? What's he searching for? Well, not that he's looking for something, searching for something. So Ahmad finds playing computer games enjoyable. So this is a word change question, yeah? Ahmad enjoys playing computer games. Ahmad finds playing computer games enjoyable. The students were disappointed when they did not make it to the finals of the competition. Okay, another word change question. Much to their, what's the noun form of disappointed? Much to their disappointment, comma, the students did not. Don't forget the students. Don't write they, okay, because you have to mention the subject here. The students did not make it to the finals of the competition. Common mistake, finals, some students might leave out the S. Don't do that. My brother does not like yogurt. My brother also does not like ice cream. So he doesn't like yogurt, he doesn't like ice cream. So my brother likes neither yogurt nor ice cream. Question 69. All the players train, hang on, by the way, all is plural when you're dealing with countable nouns. So train does not come with an S, right? All the players train, so plural form. Extremely hard during the weekly practice. Bobby and James do not. So, okay, every one of the players, all right. Now, the challenging thing about this question is, at first, all the players is plural, so we take the plural verb. However, every one of the players, because of the phrase everyone, it is now a singular subject. So we have to take the singular verb. Every one of the players except who? Bobby and James trains. Notice this? This is the singular form. Trains extremely hard during the weekly practice. Lastly, we have a direct to indirect speech question, and immediately I noticed that we have something in the past tense here, so we know that we have to add a had. Okay, so what did you and Thomas eat for recess? So Madam Wong asked Mei Mei what she and Thomas ate, had eaten for recess. So make sure that when you see a word in the past tense, add a had in front, right? So what she and Thomas had eaten for recess. And now comprehension, we're going to do some deep reading. Okay, deep within the forest live tall and ancient, very old trees, protected by a tree spirit called Maru. There's something magical here, right? A tree spirit probably has some special powers, protecting a forest with very old and very tall trees. One day, three men named Aki, Hans, and Raz decided that they would earn some money by cutting down trees in the forest and selling the wood to the villagers. So they were basically lumberjacks. Not just lumberjacks, because lumberjacks cut down trees. Not just lumberjacks, but they were also going to be salespeople, right? They're going to sell the wood to the villagers. Initially, basically means at first, they agreed that they would only chop one tree a month, as that would provide enough wood for them to survive for an entire month. Okay, so they were going to do something bad to the forest, one tree, but chop down trees, but not at a horrible rate, just one a month. For every tree they chopped down, the three men planted 2 saplings that would one day grow into enormously tall trees. Oh my goodness. Over time, the forest actually grows, because when they chop one down, they would plant 2 saplings. So in the end, okay, the forest should actually grow in size. This is how we keep the forest healthy and happy. By the way, you know that when this is in bold, they are going to ask you, what does this refer to? As usual, read what's before. So what's going to keep the forest healthy and happy? What is? It is the what? Planting 2 saplings. Wrong. Okay, planting 2 saplings? No. It is planting 2 saplings for every tree that they chop down. Not that if you chop down 1 million trees and you plant 2 saplings, that's not going to work. Okay, so most students might say, oh, planting 2 saplings is going to keep the forest healthy and happy. No, it is 2 saplings, planting 2 saplings for every tree that was chopped down. Okay, next. Aki would say with a smile each time he planted a sapling in the earth. And if we take care of the forest, then the forest will take care of us. So far, Aki is the one who is working quite hard to make sure things do not get destroyed. For many months, Aki and his friends were conscientious. Now, what does conscientious mean? It basically means doing things the right way. In this case, the right way means chopping down trees, yes, but planting 2 for every tree chopped down. They were working very hard and doing things the right way. About what? About homework? No, about preserving the forest. They only cut down 1 tree each month, and they always made sure that they planted the saplings in order to show respect for the forest. However, things started to change when Aki's friend began to look at the trees in a different way. What does that mean? Look at the trees in a different way. What? They thought the trees now looked like sausages? No. Let's find out. Hans asked, why are we only cutting down a single tree each month when we could be cutting down many more? We could make more money then. So how was Hans looking at Aki's friends, right? So Hans and Raz, basically. How were they looking at trees in a different way? Instead of trying to survive, look at this. The word survive is used here, which means just enough money to not die. Okay, now they were thinking of not just surviving, they were trying to get rich. That's a different attitude altogether. So what do you think changed when they started to think, let's chop down more to get rich? Things started to change. I think it was the plan. What was the plan? 1 tree each month. Also, plant 2 for every tree each month, right? So things started to change. Okay, what changed? They were going to cut down more than 1 tree each month, basically. Yes, we could earn ourselves a great deal of money if we cut down more trees. Basically, this is the change, right? This is the change in the plan, said Raz. Aki was very distressed, upset to hear his friends talking in such a manner. However, Hans and Raz were not to be dissuaded. They were not to be persuaded otherwise. Okay? They, in other words, stuck to their new plan, decided to go ahead with their new plan. And so they combined their savings, Hans and Raz, and bought a big tractor and an electric saw, so a giant vehicle to carry more tree trunks, and of course an electric saw to be much more efficient, okay, at chopping down trees. Just before sunrise, well, they were in a hurry, okay, Is it 1 week after? Is it 6 days after? No, it was just before sunrise the next day, probably. Hans and Russ set out into the forest with their new equipment. Well, they purchased the equipment in a hurry as well and began cutting down one tree after another. That's much more than one a month. One by one, the towering tree trunks fell to the ground. The tall tree trunks fell to the ground. As the forest was filled with the crashing sound of the falling trees, Aki's heart was filled with sadness. "What are you doing?" he asked very sadly, sorrowfully. "We must not disrespect the forest in such a manner." His friends merely laughed, just laughed, and continued to fell more trees. Hang on. To fell more trees? Sounds weird, doesn't it? To fall more trees. Yeah. Okay. No. Actually, this means to chop down. Okay. To fell more trees. This is correct. It just means to chop down. Continued to fell more trees before unloading them onto the tractor. Aki felt powerless. He was unable to stop his friends because they were blinded by greed. They refused to listen to reason. Kneeling down and bowing to the sky, Aki clasped his hands together to ask for forgiveness, help. He basically wrapped them tightly around each other, okay, his hands, asked for forgiveness. What is not mentioned here? Maru, the tree spirit, right? So Aki is basically begging for forgiveness from the tree spirit. Unknown to the men, Maru had been watching their actions. He was raging with fury that his trees were being cut down in such a disrespectful way. He decided to teach Hans and Ras a lesson by using his magical powers. Oh, there you go, tree spirits. It's going to have superpowers. Both men suddenly felt an acute pain, a very sharp pain in their stomachs, and nothing they did seem to ease the pain. Well, can you guess that that's because of Maru, right? So Maru can actually cause people pain if he wants to. Despite their discomfort, they continued their evil work of lumbering, of chopping down the trees. Well, I think the first punishment is not actually very bad, just pain in their stomachs. So that didn't stop them. Soon, a cold gust of wind blew across the trees, shaking them violently, and a heavy rain began to fall. So now very bad weather was summoned by Maru, the tree spirit. So the punishment is getting slightly heavier. "We must leave this place," screamed Hans and Ras. Seems like it's working. "The forest has come alive." Okay, so they didn't know that it was maybe the tree spirit, right? They think the forest is getting angry. Okay, and destroyed all our equipment. Okay, this is the second punishment, is it not? First, it was the pain in their stomachs. Next is the destruction of their equipment. The two friends ran out of the forest as fast as they could and never returned. Yay, success. Aki, on the other hand, was miraculously protected from the wind and rain. Hey, Maru's Maru's a fair spirit, is he not? He punished only the men responsible for being disrespectful in their chopping down of trees. He protected Aki, the one who did not, treat the forest with disrespect. "I will not leave the forest," Aki cried out at the top of his lungs. Maybe Aki wasn't aware, okay? Maybe Aki was just thinking, my goodness, the forest is going crazy, but I will not leave. "I will stay and plant new saplings to replace the trees that my greedy friends have chopped down." Do you think he was planting 2 saplings? No, many, many more than 2 saplings. In fact, he was going to plant saplings to replace the trees that Hans and Ras had chopped down. As quickly as they started, the wind subsided and the rain came to an abrupt stop. Abrupt, by the way, means sudden. So question, what does they refer to over here? As quickly as they started. They're not referring to the friends, referring to the wind and the rain. So the wind and rain came suddenly, but they also went away suddenly. The wind died down and the rain came to a sudden stop. Aki was grateful that the storm was over, and immediately he set about doing his task. So he waited for the storm to be over to start doing his task. Question, his task as in what? Okay, that's going to be part of the question later. And question 1, what did the 3 men do to make a living? Now, 1 mark, which means the answer should be there, and there should just be 1 point. What did the 3 men do to make a living? Seems like an easy question, but if you look carefully, it is not. You have to decide. Okay, anyway, before we could go on. You should be looking at this, right? Earn some money should be a giant clue right there. How did they make a living? In other words, how did they support themselves? How did they survive? Okay, they would earn some money by, okay, all right, yeah. This is near the answer now. By cutting down trees in the forest. Excuse me? You cut down trees and somehow money appears? What? And selling the wood to the villagers. This is why I say this question looks simple, but it's actually not if you think about it. Do not just write cutting down trees in the forest. I know it says here, they would earn some money by cutting down trees in the forest. Do not forget the connector and selling the wood to the villagers. Cutting down trees does not magically cause coins to fall down from the sky. Okay, so what did they do to make a living? I want an action. What did the three men do? So they cut down trees in the forest and sold the wood to villagers. I don't think they sold trees to the villagers and sold the wood to villagers. 72. Why were the three men satisfied with cutting down only a tree each month? 2 marks. Okay, let's look for 2 points, shall we? Why were they content? Why were they satisfied with just 1 tree a month? Well, what part should we look at here? Let's erase the previous questions content. Okay, so they would chop down 1 tree a month. Okay, so our eyes should be focusing around this area here. Why happy with 1 tree a month? You see the word as? It means because, which means we should pay attention to this. That would provide enough wood for them to survive for an entire month. See, this explains the part about why 1 tree a month, because it's enough wood for them to survive. Now, I actually don't like this phrasing. Enough wood for them to survive for an entire month. By the way, do human beings survive on wood? Hey, here's some wood for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. Excuse me? All right. I wouldn't use the phrase enough wood for them to survive. So consider my answer. Why were they happy with just 1 tree each month? The wood from 1 tree provided enough income. You can survive on money that you get from your job, right? Okay, so enough income, that's the word that's not found in the text, but I added it, for them to survive for an entire month. Okay, so the wood from 1 tree provided enough income for them to survive for an entire month. That's why they were happy with just cutting down 1 tree a month. Line 6, what does the word this refer to? Okay, line 6. This is how we keep the forest happy and healthy. The question you should ask yourself is this: what is going to keep the forest healthy and happy? It is an action, is it not? So your answer should start with an action. And what's the action here? Planting 2 saplings. No, planting 2 saplings for every tree that was chopped down. Okay, if you chop down 100 trees, you're not supposed to plant 2 saplings. You're supposed to plant 200 saplings. So it's 2 for every 1 that they chop down. That is how they will keep the forest healthy and happy. So do not make the mistake of just writing planting 2 saplings. No. Okay, it means planting 2 saplings for every tree that they cut down. Things started to change, line 11. What does it refer to? Things started to change. When Aki's friends began to look at the trees in a different way. Instead of looking at the trees as a way of surviving, they now were looking at the trees as a way to get rich. Okay, so what started to change? I think we discussed before, right? What started to change? What was the thing that was changing? It was the plan, wasn't it? So, things started to change. Exactly what does that refer to? Refers to cutting down more than 1 tree a month. In fact, if you look at the next paragraph, there's a clue there. Things started to change, and then they looked at a different way. All right, so what's that? If we cut down more trees. Yes, if we cut down more trees. This is the change here. So instead of 1 tree a month, they were now going to cut down more than 1 tree a month. That's the change. His task. Okay, so at the end of the story, after the storm was over, he set about doing his task. What's the task here? It's mentioned right here. New saplings. To replace what? The trees that his friends had chopped down. Question. do you actually need to write the word greedy? Do I need to know how the friends were behaving? No, just tell me what was his task. Okay, it was planting new saplings to replace the trees that his friends had chopped down. I wouldn't even write his friends. Okay, so that Hans and Ras had cut down. So planting new saplings to replace the trees that Hans and Ras had cut down. So if you wrote planting new saplings, you would actually get a 0. Which two of the following words best describe how Hans and Ras felt in paragraph 3? Okay, the feelings of Hans and Ras in paragraph 3. So let's look at paragraph 3. The feelings of Hans and Ras. Okay, remember? So basically, Hans and Ras were not dissuaded by Aki, and they very much decided to go ahead with that new plan. And seems to be quite excited, right? Okay, just before sunrise, they decided to go out there and start with their new plan. So if you know the word adamant, you will know that they were not dissuaded, so they were adamant. And impatient, just before sunrise. Okay, right after talking about the plan, they executed the plan. That's how eager and excited and impatient they were. Let's make money immediately, as soon as possible. So adamant just means not willing to change your mind. And that was what was happening. They were not willing to change their minds based on what Aki was asking for. Please respect the forest, do not do this. They said, nope, I'm not going to change my mind, let's carry on. Which sentence from paragraph 4 shows that Hans and Ras found Aki's plea, Aki's begging, Aki's request, desperate request? They found Aki's desperate request to be foolish. Okay, paragraph 4, 2 marks. Hans and Ras found Aki's request foolish. So paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. So can you see this part here? It shows indirectly that they were disrespectful, right? They found it ridiculous. Okay, they found it to be foolish. So it must be this part here. And make sure you include the entire sentence. His friends merely laughed and continued to fell more trees before lowering them onto the tractor. Now, of course, in your answer, you should start with, right, the sentence is, and then add your quotation marks. And sequence of events, right? Aki prayed for Maru's forgiveness. That's after the chopping of the trees, the new plan. Hans figured that cutting down many trees would be profitable. Okay, that happened first. Ras chipped in to buy a tractor and cutting equipment. Okay, so first there was the intention to change the plan. Then this was part of the plan to buy the equipment. And then they started executing the plan, chopping down many trees. And that's when Aki asked Maru for forgiveness. So it's first one, second one, third one. Choose words from paragraph 5 to 7 which are similar in meaning to the word number 1, stabbing. Okay, stabbing as in very sharp and painful sensation, right? And that's referring to the stomachs, wasn't it? That acute pain in their stomachs. Logging as in chopping down trees, so lumbering, continued lumbering the trees. Okay, this is from paragraph 5 to 7, by the way, so let's take a look. Okay, continued their evil work of lumbering the trees, the sharp pain, the stabbing pain in their stomachs. And lastly, died down, as in what? The winds. Not the winds. Was it the winds? Yes, I think it's the wind. Yes, the wind subsided. 78. What did Maru do? So I'm expecting an action. When his initial punishment, his first punishment, remember, causing pain in their stomachs, failed to stop Hans and Ras from cutting down the trees. 2 marks. Okay, what did Maru do? The text actually doesn't tell you Maru did this, but you need to infer, you need to make a guess, right? So this is after the pain in their stomachs, but they continued their evil work of cutting down trees. Right after that, what did Maru do? A cold gust. You know what a bad answer is? A bad answer is simply copying the entire sentence down. What did Maru do? Okay, a cold gust of wind blew across the trees, shaking them violently, and a heavy rain began to fall. Okay, so start your answer with Maru's actions. He summoned. Notice that this word is not found in the text. Well, you can probably use another word like he created, all right, not the best, right? He caused, right? He's caused heavy rain and a cold gust of wind to blow, something like that. But I prefer the word summoned. This means that he called for it with his magical powers. Yeah, he summoned heavy rain and a cold gust of wind that blew across the trees. That blew. Ooh, let me adjust my answer a little bit. That blew violently. That is much more accurate, right? So it wasn't just blowing; it was blowing violently across the trees. And there you go. 79. The table shows the actions of the three friends from paragraphs 4 to 7, 2 marks. So Hans and Ras continued to cut down the trees despite the stomachache. Now, what's the reason for that? Why did they continue? Because they wanted to chop down more wood? Yeah, absolutely. But in order for what? Were they just deciding to chop down more wood despite the stomachache because they love chopping wood? No. The bigger reason is they wanted to earn more money by chopping down more trees for more lumber to sell. So do not have your answer stop at they wanted to chop down more trees. Were they just fans of chopping down trees while having a stomachache? No. Okay, the intention is to earn more money from chopping down more trees. Next, Aki bowed to the sky and asked for forgiveness. What's the reason for Aki's action, bowing to the sky, asking for forgiveness? Please mention Maru in your answer. Okay, he did not want Maru to punish Hans and Ras. Okay, please do not write he wanted Maru to not be angry or something like that. Okay, it's specifically not about how Maru felt, but it's specifically to prevent his friends from being punished. Last question, was Maru fair in his treatment of the three friends? Well, the first part is a yes or no response. Next, give one reason to explain your answer. Okay, so make sure that you have just one reason. By the way, was Maru fair? Yeah, Maru punished Hans and Ras and protected Aki. Okay, so yes, he was. Full stop. He protected Aki and punished only Hans and Ras, the men who were responsible for felling more than one tree a month. See, he protected Aki and punished only Hans and Ras, who did what? Who offended the tree spirit by cutting down more than one tree a month. To conclude, let's recap some words and phrases taken from today's paper. Now, blank his teacher, as in to like his teacher, the phrase is fond of his teacher. Next, plumes of smoke, okay, columns of smoke rising into the air. Next one, a record number of people showed up. There was a record turnout for the opening ceremony. Losing to someone younger is difficult to accept. Okay, the phrase is a bitter pill to swallow. It takes real skill to buy wine without money. Okay, so shocked, surprised, okay, dumbfounded by a ridiculous request. Okay, to speak disrespectfully, replied disdainfully or with contempt. Floral creations that are very well made, that are exquisite. Be spellbound by, to have your breath taken away by the magical gardens. To be spellbound is to be enthralled, almost suggesting that it's a magical experience. Spot the friendly flower person dressed in a costume. Okay, so flower mascots. Okay, a mascot is basically a character that represents something. To be praised, to be commended for her civic-mindedness. Next, to do more than what you are supposed to do is to go beyond the call of duty. At first, they agreed on chopping one tree a month. At first, initially, Hans and Ras were not convinced to do otherwise. They were not dissuaded. They would not be convinced to change their minds. They just laughed. They merely laughed. Next, they felt a sharp pain in their stomachs, an acute pain in their stomachs. And finally, the rain came to a sudden stop, to an abrupt stop. And that's the end of the video. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you.